Good evening. Let me start by acknowledging something that most of you in the room already know. The drought is over. And a lot of the questions we've been getting over the last several weeks since the governor declared the drought over in California is why aren't water rates going down? I think you've heard from Eric today why the investments we've been making and continue to make will be driving water rates as well as our supplies for Metropolitan. That while the 3-year drought from 2007 and 2009 is over, we know we live in a semi-arid region here in San Diego County, and that wet years, like the one we're having this year, are a lot more uncommon than the dry years are. Our supply reliability here in San Diego County, with 80% of our water supply imported into the region, really has a lot more to do with the hydrology in Northern California and in the western slope of the Colorado Rockies than it does on local rainfall here. Protecting the ratepayers is a major focus for our effort. We're going to talk a little bit in this presentation about what we're doing 100 miles north here in Los Angeles, in the boardroom of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, where many of our cost drivers of our water rates here in San Diego County, where those decisions are made. First, a little bit, this is the statewide water supply picture going back to 2006. 2006 was, in California, a very wet year. It was a very bountiful year in the Sierra Mountains in terms of snowpack and precipitation. And then you can see the successive 3 years of well below average precipitation, and that was the California drought, 2007, 8, and 9. We returned to near normal conditions in 2010, and then this year, about almost 150% of normal. So we had a very good year in California, but as this picture very well demonstrates, the wet years come a lot less frequently than the dry years, and the dry years often come in a string of multiple years, and that is the principal water supply challenge for California. The Bay Delta, many of you know that about 30% of our water supply here in San Diego County originates in the Bay Delta, and there are serious problems and challenges in the Bay Delta that are not only reducing our water supply reliability from the Bay Delta, but if we do not fix it as a state and come together as a state to fix it, will threaten California's economy for generations to come. Our water supply, again, 30% dependent on the supply reliability out of the Bay Delta. And here are some of the challenges. Meet the challenges in the Bay Delta, particularly these fish species shown up on the screen are the ones that have been driving the restrictions in the operations of the state water project and the companion federal system called the Central Valley Project System. These 5 endangered and threatened species are what those operations have been cut back when you heard about pumping restrictions. There were restrictions in the operations of the facilities that pumped water to us here in Southern California to protect the species that are shown on this screen. The Delta smelt, the Central Valley steelhead, Chinook salmon, green sturgeon, which is really a prehistoric fish, if you can see that here up on the screen, and the longfin smelt, a cousin of the Delta smelt. Those have cut in a couple of our years recently 30% of our water supplies out of the Bay Delta. Water that would otherwise have been available for Southern California were curtailed because of the pumping restrictions put into place to protect those species. The bottom line of that story is the Sacramento-San Joaquin Bay Delta is intended to serve 2 purposes: as a physical water delivery system and as an ecosystem for a whole host of aquatic, avian, and terrestrial animals, and it is failing on both of those fronts. It's failing as a water delivery system, and it's failing as a healthy ecosystem. This is the Colorado River system, and we have had significant hydrologic challenges on the Colorado River. While this year was above average year, the Colorado River system, 9 out of the last 11 years, was in the most historic drought in the developed river system since Hoover Dam and the other facilities were built in the early part of the 20th century. You can see in that picture a bathtub ring around Lake Mead. This is the inlet-outlet structure of Lake Mead. The dam is immediately to the left. This bathtub ring mineral deposits around the Lake Mead shows you where the water line would be when Lake Mead is full. The picture is a little bit deceptive. How tall is that bathtub ring? The bathtub ring in that picture is more than 120 feet tall. So if you can imagine a 12-story building, if you've seen a picture like this with a boat on the lake next to it, the boat is barely perceptible. That is a very big bathtub ring. So it's going to take several very, very good years of weather to help recover the lost storage. Lake Mead, Lake Powell have together about 50% of their capacity of water is in those reservoirs today. Improving a bit this year, going to take several years to really get back to healthy levels. This is Lake Oroville, a picture taken in April 2010. It's obviously a lot better today, but this gave you a picture of what the bathtub ring around Lake Oroville only holds less than 6 million acre-feet of water storage total and has annual commitments of 4 million acre-feet, so it has less than 1.5 years of storage capacity. So we really live year to year on the state water project system, unlike the Colorado River system. We are working with other utilities to help address the challenges that are plaguing the state water project system, which are more than just hydrology, with the species ecosystem challenges that are reducing our water supplies in that system. Obviously, all of us in this room have made, and our neighbors and businesses in our region have made a renewed and sustained commitment to water conservation in our region. As Chair Hogan mentioned earlier, this is our way of life. Even if we've had a good wet year, none of us in this room would feel very good about going out right now and hosing down our driveways and sidewalks. That seems like a foreign concept to us, and really the community has responded very well by using water more wisely, as we should in an arid area like San Diego County. I ask this question every once in a while. When was the last full year that our native water supply, what falls from the sky, what we're able to capture in local reservoirs, what was the last full year that our local water supply was sufficient to sustain San Diego's population and economy? Anyone want to take a guess? 1946 is exactly correct. How many of us in this room were either born after 1946 or moved to San Diego County after 1946? Raise your hand. Come on, be honest. So, and the story of San Diego's economy really is built on imported water. And we could simply not support a fraction of the economy and gross domestic product and quality of life we have in San Diego County today with just local rainfall. So wise water use is really essential for us as a community and as a community ethic as we go forward and really forever. Now we want to talk about money and the Metropolitan Water District. MWD is the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. They are currently and have been for decades the largest source of the water authority's water supply that we sell to our member agencies. But I want to give some order of magnitude to the amount of San Diego County ratepayer money that we're sending 100 miles north for the services in the water that Metropolitan provides our region. The amount of money the water authority sent to the Metropolitan Water District last year, almost $250 million. So we're talking about real money. We're going to talk about in the next few slides what's at the heart of a major lawsuit that the water authority filed last summer, challenging Metropolitan's rate structure and how they allocate their costs across the water rate categories. But to give you a perspective of what's the dollars at stake in the litigation, it is between $1.3 billion and $2.1 billion over the span of the next 45 years. So suffice to say that what's at stake in this litigation is very big and very meaningful for ratepayers here in San Diego County. Supply challenges, as we've seen, are a significant driver of recent water rate increases. Just as the water authority's sales have declined, as Eric mentioned, 38% sales decline at the water authority over the past several years. Water sales by Metropolitan have dropped by 1/3 over the last 3 years, almost 33% over the last 3 years. And Metropolitan recovers the vast majority, 80% or more of their revenues come from the sale of water. And it's that they've had many fewer units of water they've been selling. They've had to raise rates to recover the cost of their fixed costs across a smaller number of those units. As we're going to talk about in the lawsuit, we believe Metropolitan's current rate structure disadvantages ratepayers in San Diego County and overcharges our ratepayers this year by $31 million, and that figure to grow each year over the next decade or so. This gives you a picture of two very key metrics or key features at Metropolitan. In the orange line here is Met's water sales over a 10-year period, 2000 to 2009. And you can see that slope right there we call a cliff. And that's what's happened in Met's water sales over that period of time. Their sales have declined 32% over a very short period of time. And you can see what happened to water rates. Water rates are shown here In the blue line, these are water rates over that same period of time, and you can see the corresponding effect as the water sales have gone down, what's happened at water rates at Metropolitan. And as Eric Sandler, our finance director, discussed earlier, what Met does to raise water rates has the biggest impact on the water authority's water rates. So decisions made 100 miles north of here have a profound impact on the water rates we pay here in San Diego County. Going forward, that red solid line represents what Metropolitan forecasts their water rates to do over the next 10 years. They forecast their water rates will go up an annual average of 6% over that period of time. This red dashed line is what the water authority is simply taking that 6% annual increase and continued it out through 2030. What's happening with Metropolitan's projected water sales over that period of time? That purple line represents, and here in 2020, Metropolitan believes their water sales will decline from their 10-year average up here of a little over 2.1 million acre feet down to about 1.6 million acre feet in 2020. And part of that is for us all to comply with a state law passed in 2009 that requires us to reduce per capita water use by 20% by 2020. In the water business, we call it 20 by 2020. It's a real familiar phrase for us. So as we're all reducing our water demands and becoming more and more efficient with water, that's having a big impact on water sales and water sales revenues for the water agencies.